Welcome, or welcome back to Heretic Tarot. My name is Liz, and I'll be guiding you on this journey today. This is the reading for the 2-5 Human Design Profile. If you don't know what your profile is, there's a link in the description below for you to get your Human Design body graph. Even if you don't know a single thing about human design, these messages are definitely still for you. I do my best to not use a ton of human design lingo because I don't want it to get confusing. And the point isn't to teach you human design. The point is to have an additional avenue of information for you, because not every Cancer is a 2-5, or, not every Libra is a 2-5. So it's just additional, in addition to, I might mention strategy and authority every once in a while. And obviously, the things that you're just don't even worry about it. Chances are, anyway, in some aspect, you're already engaging in your strategy and authority. You just may not realize that until you dive deeper into human design, or maybe you already have and you're like, oh, I was already kind of doing that. So let's get you an oracle card, and then of course we'll get your tarot out. The snake and Fern. This is actually the card that inspired me to purchase this deck. I just think this card is so fucking pretty. Starting over. Gorgeous. Oh God, just love this card. We'll read about that after we get your tarot cards out. Anytime I see a snake, symbolism in tarot, I always, for one, of course, you can go straight to Kundalini, although not necessarily in this card because it's going the opposite direction. Kundalini goes up your chakra system, it starts at the root and goes up, and this snake is going down. So, not that. It's not that. But anytime I see a snake, in tarot, well, we have the High Priestess or the Revealer, the Moon, which is interesting because the High Priestess has an affinity or a relationship to the Moon. Even look at the symbolism right here and this one here. Very interesting. The Chariot. Listen, let me just tell you, okay? First of all, it's rare. No, it's just not very often that my mind is blown by tarot, but it happens often enough to where it, it keeps me obsessed with tarot, because what are the odds that these three specific cards would come out together, okay? I can't even tell you what the odds would be. I'm sure the odds of that happening are greater or whatever than winning the lottery. It's more impossible of a combo than the possibility of winning the lottery. And I say that because, okay, like I said, the Revealer or the High Priestess has an association to the Moon. The Moon in astrology is rules over Cancer, right? The Moon and the Sun are the only two objects that, because they're not planets, right? They're the only two objects that are only associated to one sign. Cancer has the Moon, Leo has the Sun. So in tarot, though, the High Priestess is sometimes associated to Pisces, but also to Cancer because of its association to the Moon. And then we have the Moon card that came out which is Cancer. And then we have the Chariot, which is the card of Cancer in the tarot also. So crazy. I'm really excited to read about this oracle card too, because like it's giving this feeling of like knowing that the tides are changing, like knowing that there's something, whether that's in your subconscious, whether that's in your intuition, whether it's both, like it's knowing that change is afoot. Something is shifting. And it's also, it's like allowing yourself to, I literally just got the chills on the right side of my body. Only the right side. So that was, I don't know. But it's like allowing yourself to, for one, follow that intuition and trust it. And for two, go with the flow. Like literally allow yourself to move forward, even if you have no idea of what you're moving towards. Interesting that these all came out in the reverse. Bro. And then we have the Death card at the bottom of the deck. Let me make sure these are all in frame. Oh, okay. It's a good thing that I looked. Sorry about that. Okay, so I feel like asking you, like, what your first impressions are on this. Like, I don't know why that just came to mind, but I'm like, give me your input. Like, what are you feeling so far? I mean, truly though, if you feel like sharing in the comments, like if you do have just an intuition or like a feeling about what this is about. And I know that can be very personal and vulnerable, like sharing that on YouTube in a comment, but you know, hey, if you want to, by all means. So it says, the snake and fern calls us to start anew, regularly shedding its skin, which is exactly what I was going to say before the top row of cards came out. So good. Regularly shedding its skin. The snake is a symbol of rebirth and transformative healing. And in many cultures, the fern is associated with new life and new beginnings. To the Maori of New Zealand, I might have totally butchered the pronunciation of that. I apologize. An image of the unfurling silver fern frond, or kuru, is a central motif indicating growth and a return to one's origins. Together, the snake and fern inspires confidence as we start over or embark along a new path. Upright, a rebirth is imminent. Summon the magical protection of the fern and wiggle free of old trappings. Reversed, you may be feeling meek or fearful in the face of unnecessary change. Excuse me, in the face of necessary change? What kind of Freudian slip? Remember that all things must come to an end. And we have the okay. And endings needn't be sorrowful. As a snake loses its skin, revealing a new layer of healthy scales, you too must shed what no longer serves. Man, it was hard to get through that last part. Because we have the Death card. We have the snake and the fern to begin. We have the Death card at the end of this effing reading. This is, okay, listen. I love when I'm like taken on a ride through tarot. And truly, it's an honor, you know, like I'm glad to be on that journey with you. So, all right. We start with the High Priestess. Like I said, all the things I said before about the High Priestess, but I see the High Priestess as us being in tune with our star player. For me, that's my higher self. That bitch, like she knows, right? Like she knows why we're here. She knows why and I shouldn't even say she. I feel like it's, you know, we're literally just energy, right? There's no gender when it comes to energy, at least for me. So they know what we're here for, why we decided to be here. It could be, you know, if you believe in a higher power, of course, you know, it could be divine, source, spirit, God, you know, fit it however, you know, and if you don't believe in higher power, then it really is like your direct connection to your intuition, because we all have an intuition, regardless of how that comes through, right? It's, everybody has it. And even I feel like in this high priestess, like if we were to turn this upside down, it's similar-ish to, you know, the human design body graph. I mean, I know that's not, you know, what they were going for in this card. It just reminds me of that. And of course we're talking about human design in a certain sense here, but there's this like higher consciousness. There's even this like fate aspect to it of, you know, allowing yourself to grow into what is true for you. And that's what I was going to say about the snake is, you know, the whole like shedding skin thing, because snakes shed skin for a couple different reasons, right? Snakes and spiders that I know of are the ones that like, you know, shed skin or molt or whatever it's called. I'm sure there's other things, I don't know. But they do that to either grow, like literally they outgrew their own skin, or to heal an injury or, you know, rejuvenate a body part. There's this guy on TikTok, Venom Man like 2.0 or something like that, or Venom Man 20. I don't see him like as often anymore, which sucks, but I used to watch his lives because they would just show up on my, you know, FYP on TikTok. And he'd be on there like feeding his snakes or feeding his spiders, which I didn't think that I would ever partake in watching. But I think, you know, like he's very knowledgeable, careful, you know, he's not just willy-nilly with these spiders and snakes. And there was this one spider that he got in this, it came in a like plastic container. Well, one of their fangs got stuck in one of the openings of the container and it ripped off. So he said, I just need to keep her alive long enough to when she molts, because she'll grow back a fang. And sure as shit, she did. So again, right, it's to like regenerate, you know, like if there was damage to one of the scales, then by shedding their skin, they would be replacing, you know, that scale with a new one. Or growth. It's literally outgrowing your skin. So, you know, with this revealer, with the High Priestess card, it's truly, it could be really discovering like what is true for you. Are you doing what you feel you are here to do? It is tuning in to your intuition, to even your, you know, of course, strategy and authority, since we are talking human design. And it's interesting that it's paired with the future card upside down. This deck comes with a past, present, future card. And I think it's meant to, you know, for people who do past, present, future readings. But I was just like, well, I'm just going to throw them in the deck. And if they come out, you know, and they rarely do come out. So when they do, I feel like it is significant. And the future card is in the reverse. So it could be that there's some uncertainty about the future. I mean, even like look at in here, there's these planets, right? Like there could be just transits going on right now that make you like have this feeling of like being in limbo, or, really observing what it is that you want out of your future. What's working, what's not working, how do you want to proceed forward? Mercury just went into retrograde in Virgo, right? So there's who else is retrograde? Saturn is retrograde. Pluto is retrograde. I think Neptune is too. I feel like there's supposed to be a few other planets that are going to be going retrograde also shortly at some point. So, retrogrades talk about revisiting, getting clear on things. And then we have the moon card. It's interesting, this moon card and the chariot card. It's like this, whatever this is supposed to be. I don't know. Like this, I don't know. What would you call this part right here? I'm drawing a blank. I have no clue. But it's just, in the chariot card, there's this black and white, part here too. So it's just interesting, the similarities there. The moon card is like, it does talk about our subconscious, things that are hidden. It's also like, you don't have all the information yet. It's like all has not been revealed yet. So, and especially if you're just kind of like, man, I don't even know, like this uncertainty that I was mentioning. It's like, I don't even know what I could possibly make out of the information that I have right now. Or, just even going back to the revealer and, the high priestess, like, if you're just kind of like, I have no clue what, my intuition is even saying, like, what message am I supposed to be receiving from this? The moon, whenever the moon shows up, it's like, it's not going to be clear. At least not yet. It will be, because we have the chariot and then we have the keeper of wands in the reverse, like to end the reading. But it's, don't necessarily, the focus shouldn't be on clarity. The focus should be like, what are your intentions? Almost, it's like getting out of your own way type of thing. Like not necessarily focusing on that whole, it may sound like cliche, I guess, but not focusing on the destination, but focusing on the journey. And especially even too, like with the snake and the fern thing, like if you are carrying around like an old skin, quote unquote, right? Like, which, that could be a behavior pattern. It could be a thought pattern, a belief system, identity, whatever, the case may be. And if your guidance is that is not working for you anymore in some capacity, and if you're kind of like, well, okay, what do I do with that? Well, you allow yourself to, for one, acknowledge that. Right? Like have an awareness of it and be like, you know what? This actually isn't working for me anymore. That's not something I believe in anymore. That's not a way that I want to behave. That way of thinking is not helping me reach my goals. And little by little, because it does have to be little steps to change homeostasis. Like little by little, you start making decisions differently. Or if you feel like you don't know what decision to make or how to make it, and you want to go back into like an old pattern, then you just don't make a decision yet. Wait for clarity, which can be excruciating sometimes. But that's how we change. And part of me is saying that because we have the 8 of Wands in the reverse. The 8 of Wands is usually like fast moving communication. It's fast. Whatever it is. It could be, having a conversation with somebody and it changes something, very quickly. It's, taking action very quickly. changing directions, like very quickly. Whatever it is, it happens fast, right? Like wands are about trying things. It's the motivation behind the things that we try, the actions that we take. I also see wands as being information by way of experience, because that's what we get by trying things. We figure out what works, what doesn't work, what do we like, what don't we like. And that gives us wisdom. It gives us knowledge. And again, like with it being in the reverse, none of this is really going to be moving very fast. Even like shedding skin, it doesn't happen like overnight, right? I mean, there is a process to that. And even, like with that second line, it's like allowing yourself to be in your environment that's super cozy, right? Like it makes you feel alive. It makes you feel relaxed. It makes you feel comfortable. Like that's where you would want to shed a skin, right? Metaphorically, of course, right? Like, so with the Eight of Wands being in the reverse, again, like this is not something that is meant to be fast. So allow yourself to be hyper aware of your feelings, of your, decisions, of, why is it that I have a perception of my reality that I do? Why do I feel a certain way about certain things? Right? Like, is that true for me anymore? Journal about it, or, And then we have the Chariot, which, okay, so the Eight of Wands is reversed under the Moon card, right? And then we have the Chariot, which is fast moving. But the difference I feel is that the Chariot is divine guidance. Like the Chariot set is basically like that card that says you are going to be put exactly where you need to be. Like wherever you are is exactly where you need to be. Wherever you're going is exactly where you're meant to go. Wherever you find yourself, wherever you end up, wherever you are is exactly where you're meant to be. And it really is like getting out of your own way, listening to this guidance here, not necessarily thinking that it has to change overnight, especially even if it does have to do with planetary transits. I mean, even that takes time, right? Like Mercury is going to be in retrograde until like August 28th or something like that. And then there's like a shadow period. Pluto is going to be retrograde until what? Like, is it September or November? Saturn is going to be in retrograde until November, right? So, right, like it's like time. Give it time. It's kind of funny that like Temperance isn't out here, and I'm only saying that too just because Temperance talks about, like patience and time and allowing things to kind of come together, how they're going to kind of, come together. The Keeper of Wands is the Knight of Wands, which this is so funny. It's just such a cool reading. And honestly, I really hope that I'm doing it justice. All of a sudden I got like super insecure. I don't know where that came from. Like, this isn't the message or something, but when I like check in with that real time, when I'm actually telling you about a little bit, when I check in with that doesn't seem true. Like, I do believe that this is the message, but it's like ego or fear or like old stuff, like old doubt that is coming up. It never goes away. But having an awareness of those things though, like that can help you because you're like, oh wait, is that true? Yes or no? No? Great. Moving on. I'm not going to continue to engage with that emotion. I'm not going to continue to engage with that line of thought because it's not true. So moving on, right? And what is interesting, what I was like kind of giggling about is that the Knight of Wands is like impulsive, adventurous. I know, like, some people call the Knight of Wands like fuckboy energy too. It's like they're here for a good time. And if it ever gets serious or if it stops being fun, then they're out. They're out of there. Like if you want to start talking about emotions, like with the Chariot being associated to Cancer, which, you know, is a water sign, they're like, yeah, no. But it's also in the reverse. So again, it's like, this isn't necessarily a time to take super duper big risks, especially even like going through the skin shedding process. And I'm just going to keep using that metaphor because it's a very vulnerable time. You know, like their new scales are not quite firm yet. You know, like now I'm thinking of like, you know, when a plant pops out a new leaf, it doesn't harden for like, you know, a couple days. So it's still like very vulnerable. So you don't want to manipulate it all that much until it has had it's time to unfurl and get enough moisture out of the roots or, you know, whatever to make it stiff, you know. I'm thinking of a leaf on a plant because I'm like staring at all of these plants that I have. To use a different metaphor besides like shedding skin, because I don't know, like is that, you know. So it's one thing to like, you know, find your passion, be creative, you know, take steps towards what it is that you want to achieve, the goals that you have. But it's another thing to, you know, just kind of impulsively or, you know, willy-nilly it, I guess. It's just so interesting. And we have the Death card at the bottom of the deck, which is Scorpio, another water, right? But the Death card says that something has to end in order for something new to begin. Like the Death card doesn't only speak about endings, it talks about rebirth, but it says that something does have to end in order for this new thing to begin. If you are embarking on this new path here, that means that you would have to leave something behind. The Keeper of Swords or the Knight of Swords, making a decision. It could be putting a new idea, a new perspective, a new belief system into practice and seeing if it sticks, seeing if it holds water. Speaking of, we have the Page of Cups at the bottom or behind the Knight of Swords, which is, it's, you know, inspiration, creativity, literally building a vessel to hold water or to hold, you know, liquid. The King of Pentacles, success. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for allowing me to read your cards. I will talk to you soon. Bye.